So I was born in the year 1990, which means that I am of an age to have experienced a huge breadth of a lot of the very popular mainstream television shows, family-oriented television shows, children-oriented television shows during their prime times. I was alive during the creation of like Cartoon Network as we know it. I watched Disney during the golden era of the Disney Channel. I watched a bunch of the big nostalgic popular Nickelodeon shows as well. My favorites growing up were like Even Stevens, Drake and Josh, iCarly. This Is Hardly Special. They were massive successes that basically spoke to a generation and created the culture for a certain segment of the population, at least in the United States. Heck, for years, every time I got together with my cousins, I created sketch comedy for YouTube, very, very heavily inspired by iCarly. The way I dressed and the humor that I made was very much Louis Stevens.
What's living if you never pull your shorts down and slide on the ice, Ren?
The way that these shows still existed in the pre-internet era in a zeitgeist building way, it was the culture for children to talk about. It was what everybody watched. It's what we always referenced constantly. For millions of children around my age, this was our childhood. The internet has changed a lot of things. I feel like most kids watch Twitch and YouTube now, TikTok way more than they watch network television. I don't think Disney Channel is doing particularly well compared to some of its biggest stuff back in the day, but who knows, Disney Plus is a massive success. But to focus too much on that topic would show my age as an elder millennial, and yeah, I am aging. And as probably happens with every generation, as I age, and now that I'm a parent, I have 4 children, you start to recontextualize a lot of the things that happened in your childhood and put them in the perspective of the greater world, usually with a lot more cynicism. And with the amount of things that have come out from child stars in my lifetime, from the child stars I watched, along with a lot of dirt being dug up with things like Me Too, and just generally people being more aware of the personal and behind the scenes things happening behind like Hollywood and the nature of media in general, it's really eye-opening. I don't think I'm shocking anyone. I don't think this is new information, because most likely if you're watching this video still, you are probably around my age and you've probably seen at least some of the information that has come out from Nickelodeon or Disney stars that we grew up watching. And with the amount of information that we see related to the lives of these people and the ways that they've been abused and exploited and then sort of tossed away, it's just wild, and it makes me wonder if maybe this is just something that should exist at all. And it's a tough subject because selfishly, I want to say this was a huge cultural touchstone. This meant something to tons of people. But with the amount of problems that exist and the fact that the Hollywood cycle of children's stars creates this machine to chew children up and spit them out at the expense of the children for profit and for power, I guess. It's just a really dark world. There have been really, really good video essays on the topics of like starting with the Olsen twins. And you look at the twisted ways those children didn't have a childhood. They were basically bred to be robots of corporate speak and media hype. And those children spent their childhood years where they should be developing and fostering skills and life knowledge, working themselves to the bone. And I think that it could be one thing if this was an isolated incident, but when you take it, like, this is just people that I've watched video essays on recently. You've got Demi Lovato, you've got the Olsen twins, you've got Allison Stoner, you've got Shia LaBeouf's life, which has been made into a movie. You've got Christy Carlson Romano, which I guess on the spectrum of child stars and trauma is probably on the better end. She talks about these experiences a lot. She's been doing a lot of YouTube content that's pretty interesting with podcasts and just general commentary. You can look at the experience of like the Sprouse twins, who once again I think ended up on the positive side of the equation, but not without massive fighting against corporate stuff when they're children, essentially. And it seems like the only reason that some of these people survived is because they got help from people that survived it before them. This is all coming to a head once again because I read Jennette McCurdy's new book, I'm Glad My Mom Died. And this is once again another expose of a child star whose mom abused her in significantly damaging psychological and physical ways for money gain, for reliving a childhood she wished she had gained. Like, these types of experiences and the Hollywood culture for child stars doesn't only create tons of opportunities for bad situations for children, it invites bad parents into a system where they can profit highly off of sacrificing their children's lives and livelihood in ways where they can basically take all of their money and there's very few protections in place. So you end up with children who have no life skills. Most of their money has been siphoned off by their parents. Legally, there's only like 15% of the child's earnings that have to be saved for the children, and that gets distributed when they're older. There are child labor laws that exist, but they're generally skirted, and there's lots of loopholes that companies find ways to work around to work these children for as much as they can. But in many, many situations, these children reach adulthood. They have had a ton of their money stolen from them. They did not learn valuable life experiences. They were told their whole lives by everyone around them that they were amazing, or received weird, creepy, stalkery stuff constantly, and they had to deal with both of these realities at the same time. And then a lot of times, these people who grew up as childhood stars, they either have to try to make it by doing some crazy stunts to get into the adult world, or they're just kind of left high and dry without the valuable knowledge they need to exist in the real world with a normal life. It really makes it hard to go back and look at the shows that I loved growing up and see them in the same light. Like, can you watch iCarly and see Jennette McCurdy play Sam, knowing that she hated the show, she was being forced to do it to provide for her family so her mom could teach her eating disorders, so she could continue to play on this show that she hated, just so that her mom could live the high life on the money? It's ridiculous. I loved Sam in the show. I love Noah Monk in the show. Noah Monk, who also has like serious trauma issues from doing that show and severely hated the way that his character was treated over time. This show, and Drake and Josh, and many other popular Nickelodeon shows were created by Dan Schneider, who at the very least was a very emotionally abusive creator of these shows and director of these shows, who would constantly be screaming at children and psychologically manipulating them to fight each other in the workplace to try to earn better positioning on the show than their other child actor counterparts. Now, having my own children and wanting to give my children the best setup for life that they could possibly have. If your children want to be child actors, is it a good idea as a parent to encourage that? Or allow that, or support that idea? It's definitely not a safe bet. Even if you try your best as a parent to try to navigate this system in the safest and healthiest way possible, is it possible to succeed without having your children play insanely traumatic roles as children in horror movies or in like just graphically violent scenarios in these television shows, just so they can build a name for themselves to get on something that might be safer but might be run by monsters, the monsters that seem to be found in Hollywood every other day now? Was the sacrifices of these children for the gains of bad people, for the benefit of the culture of my childhood, worth it? Like, there are some people that ended up doing pretty well. Miranda Cosgrove seems pretty okay. There's other examples of child stars that have done all right. I'm not saying it's 100%, but it's a wild, wild industry. And if most people are not prepared for fame and internet outrage and the way that it's even gotten crazier with the existence of the internet, is it healthy to promote children being in this kind of stuff? Is it healthy to watch these shows supporting them? Should children not be allowed to act in shows? I don't know, but it seems like the systems should be changed like crazy. You want to say that there should be protections in place, but how do you enforce them? How do you enforce a scenario like Jennette describes in the book, where, like many little girls do, all she wants to do as a 6-year-old is please her mom and make her mom happy, and her mom forces her into acting, and it creates this psychological loop where she hates it, she hates the show she's on, she hates the projects that she's doing, she's not proud of the work she's spending all of her time and energy doing. It's creating all kinds of awful habits for her. But when she's asked, well, do you want to be an actress? She says yes, because her brain is so messed up. People's brains are not fully developed until they're in their early 20s. Shouldn't those developmental years be spent living out childhood and learning things? Isn't that the healthy way to do it? As children, we all watched these shows and we had a vision of what the cast was like behind the scenes. Like, everybody was friends, everything was cool, the adults were nice, there were people taking care of the kids. They talked in interviews about having to do school on set, so of course we think that they're learning, but then is that really how it is going? Do we really expect the same Hollywood executives that do these awful, heinous things behind the scenes to then switch to children's entertainment? Like, look at the people running children's entertainment. Are they trained for working with children? Are they trained for working with children's entertainment appropriately? Or are they same people pulled off of other shows that have done other projects in the past, and they're just good at what they do and about pumping it out as fast as possible on the appropriate budget, creating a product and marketing it in a way that convinces, of course, children that it's awesome? You can justify it by saying that these children might be financially set up for life, but when the system allows their parents to take all of their money and manipulate these kids while they are still completely unable to make wise decisions for themselves, these are bad systems. These are bad cultures, but these are the cultures that our cultures are built on. What the heck are we supposed to do about this? What am I supposed to feel when I watch iCarly now? Is it any surprise that a lot of these kids grow up and they have serious problems, drug problems, alcohol problems, eating disorders? Should we continue to support these ecosystems that allow this to happen and encourage this type of behavior financially from bad parents? Should we and can we continue to watch these products that we loved as children, that as a generation everything was sort of established culturally around these things, fashion, music, all of these things, it was built on a lie. Heck, just recently on this channel, I've been talking about Stranger Things. Stranger Things is a cultural phenomenon starring mostly children actors that seem okay. Everything seems fine. Have you ever watched an interview with these children and seen how media trained they are? Is that good for a 14-year-old, 16-year-old? Is it good for 16-year-olds to be able to turn on their brain and answer questions in a way that is network approved and show creator approved, and then be able to act out these scenes from the show that just, it's a horror show? Stranger Things is a horror show. When I was the age that a lot of Stranger Things kids were, I was not allowed to watch shows like this, and these kids are making it and being exposed to a type of supernatural horror that they can't possibly be right. It can't possibly be good. I'm the 31-year-old parent now. I start thinking about these things, and it's seriously difficult. We want to think that things are getting better and that people are finding better ways to incorporate children into this media machine, but have we actually seen any major proof of it? I don't think anything legally has changed. If anything, the only positive benefit might be if too much negative press comes out about your show, then maybe it will take too much backlash. I don't know. The shows that inspired my humor and my childhood were built on the backs of children experiencing trauma every day, getting abused by many, many people, getting milked for money, and now I am grown up with a normal job and a normal family and a happy life, and these people are financially well off and have very little life skills and usually a ton of baggage and or substance abuse problems. How do we reconcile that? Do child stars want people to still be able to enjoy the art that they made as children? I think it probably varies a lot depending on the person. And I think that over time, it often changes because, of course, over time, our perspective changes. I think a lot of these people hate the stuff they're making when they made it. But over time, they've come to accept that it helped so many people, or so many people were inspired by something that they learned to accept that it might have been a good thing in the long run for other people, even if it wasn't for them. If adults were making these decisions and it was affecting adults only, and they were able to have the opportunity to make these decisions with a sound mind, then that would be a different situation. But the fact that these decisions are getting made for children when their brains aren't even developed, oftentimes they're being forced into it or manipulated through it by multiple adults on both their family side or on the financial network side. It's whew. If somehow you are not aware of the types of things that happen commonly in Hollywood, then I would recommend you check out Jennette McCurdy's book or watch one of the many video essays that have been done about one of these people that got famous while they were kids. They're all over YouTube. The algorithm loves it because, of course, they love tragedy and anger. What are your guys' thoughts on the topic? Have you seen any of the stuff that I'm talking about? Do you have different opinions on how we're supposed to remember these things? Can we remember them fondly, knowing that this stuff still exists? Should we support watching shows that star children now? Please let me know in the comments down below, or check out the Discord, which is linked in the description. Did any of you read Jennette's book, or have you seen any of the podcasts or other things that she's been doing lately? It's really eye-opening, and now being a father of 4, I have a different perspective of it than I might have even had I not had children. Anyway, this was a side break from the fantasy and science fiction books I normally talk about, but hey, if you'd like to see any of my other and more normal book reviews, you can check them out if you subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell notification. You'll get notified when I post anything. I can't wait to hear everyone else's thoughts on these topics. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.
Sleep, no one ever get enough. Always looking out tired. Sleep, no one ever get enough. If it don't show up, I might get fired. Sleep, no one ever get enough. Always looking out tired. Sleep, no one ever get enough. If I don't show up, I might get fired.